We talk about the rugby. Ian Madigan there in a lot of the back pages this morning. I'm not sure, do you have the quotes there in front of you? He was talking about it being a serious boost that Andy Farrell gave him a shout out, and he hasn't played a lot in the last 12 months. So, I haven't really thought about this a lot over the last little while. I'm not sure about you, but the fact that the game is coming back in the next few weeks to this island, that we're going to be having these conversations again about where players lie on the depth chart, how we're fixed in certain positions. And to be honest with you, if you asked me yesterday what would be your list of the prospective Irish out-halves if Test rugby comes back later on this year, I would have totally forgotten about Ian Madigan. No disrespect to him, but rugby is just completely frozen in my mind since March. But Andy Farrell's obviously name dropped him this week. He says that playing for Ireland is his number one goal. Yet again, there's obviously a bit of a backlog for that position. You've got Ross Byrne and Jack Carty, who played in the last year for Ireland. Joey Carberry still recovering from injury. And then you've got Billy Burns in the mix as well. So there's a number of options here. But I wonder if Ian Madigan's going to be the joker in the pack somewhat, if Joey Carberry's still going to be crocked for a lot of the season.
If you're Madigan, you're backing yourself to get ahead of everybody there, right?
I'm just about to say that. There's a case to be made that Ian Madigan is your backup 10. He is your kicker off the bench, and you're straight back into that substitutes role. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it, and it's almost like a little bit of a shock to the system, kind of coming to terms with the story as well this week, where it's like, hold on a minute, this is a really big thing for Ireland to be able to have this option again, because we really didn't know what we were doing when Joey Carberry got injured and Sexton's form was patchy, or if Sexton was injured as well. There was no heir apparent, and it does seem to me that Ian Madigan would be top of that list.
He's 31, and so it's time now for him to do it. Dan Farland was on with Joe a couple of weeks ago, maybe even only 10 days ago, and was saying that Joe asked, like, is he there as a utility back? Is he going to fit in and play here and there? And it was like, no, he's here as a 10. It was very definitive. He is here as a 10, and he's coming back as a 10. And obviously, he's already got 30-odd caps when Joe Schmidt was Ireland coach, and then he left, so was unavailable for selection. Was available for selection, but the RFU decided that he's not. I shouldn't always point that out. It was a serious boost for Andy Farrell to give me a shout out, given I haven't played a whole lot for the last 12 months. For me personally, coming back and being able to play for one of the Irish provinces and playing for Ireland as one of my main goals has really focused me with my training, given me something to aim at. And then he goes on further to say his number one goal is to play for Ireland again. So he's been away with Bordeaux and Bristol. And look, sometimes out-halves mature a little bit later than everybody else, and he could be entering a 3 or 4 year period where he is our number one and becomes established as number one. Until Carberry puts a bunch of games together, and fingers crossed, because obviously he's such a brilliant talent, and we all want Joey Carberry to be fit, because he could be absolutely the best player we have in the back line. But there's also a possibility that you decide that you want two playmakers in your team, and Carberry goes to fullback and Jordan Larmour is a wing, and you give yourselves options anyway.
What do we think is the peak age for a kicker? You mentioned the whole 31 thing at the moment. You can't compare different sports, but Ian Madigan's the same age as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang at the moment, who is operating at his peak. They are very dissimilar, but I would have thought that early 30s is actually where you're at your peak as a kicker. We've seen it with Johnny Sexton, World Player of the Year at 31, was he? Was he 30? It was 32 or 33 even when he won World Player of the Year. Perhaps that decade of experience, being a first team player, first choice number 10 for your club, is what you need, and those hours actually clock up, and it is kind of a layer cake of experience, and maybe he's ready to hit his peak right now. I certainly looked at the 31 thing and don't say, right, you're on the wind down here whatsoever. I'm looking at it completely the opposite way, in fact.
Yeah, and he's in a really good environment where he's going to be given the opportunity to win that number 10 shirt, and you would really hope that it's not just strength and depth, but you can see him playing a lot of games, because it was interesting. The other thing that Farrell hasn't officially confirmed that Sexton's going to be the captain at this point. He's he's in a competition like everybody else. So, we need to begin to think about what life might look like post Johnny Sexton's Ireland career, and you can see Ian Madigan playing a lot of games for Ireland, number 10, over the next 3 or 4 years, right?
It will be a stopgap, in fairness, until Joey Carberry fully find himself in that position. But you'd still have to have a question mark about Joey Carberry's fitness so far and how fit he can stay and how many games he can actually play in a given season. That is the big worry you'd have about the future of that shirt. It's probably the big question that Irish rugby faces over the next little while. We've seen a conveyor belt of talent in a vast number of other positions, but in terms of somebody being available who could lace the boots of Johnny Sexton, Carberry's the only guy who looks fit to be able to do that and play at a similar level at times. So that is the big question we have. So hopefully the Madigan thing could be a stopgap, and hopefully we will have a fully fit Carberry for many, many years to come.